Hello, everyone, and welcome to AC Spotlight. Today, I'm joined by George, the GM of Forgotten Adventures. Welcome, man.
Hey, thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm so excited to learn more about Forgotten Adventures as well as your content and your work. But first and foremost, I like to introduce sort of this really quick and easy question. But what is your tabletop or your table snack of choice?
Oh, oh no, no, not the snack question. Anything but snacks.
Do you snack during games? It's this
Too
sort of
much.
it's this weird
Too
faux pas I've
much.
noticed. Yeah.
I like. I have saved in several locations Brennan Lee Mulligan's rant on snacking, and I listen to that when I need reassurance. I love chocolate covered peanuts. I love Skittles, Starburst, anything that I can eat very quietly,
Right.
and like sneak one in, and then jump back into DMing. Yeah, that would be my snack of choice. So candy.
Something
I have a sweet
silent.
tooth. Yes.
I'm with you too. I love sweet stuff. Also the fact that sugar and generally whenever you're doing like a production, especially with TTRPGs, a little boost of energy is not bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not a bad thing. Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
Especially when your players are kind of like deep into conversation and they're role playing. That's probably the best feeling as a GM of having to sit back and go, I don't have to talk.
Well, you know what? And so I have this need to fill silence when I'm GMing because I feel like, if things get too quiet and the players are unsure what to do, I'm like, I got to fill that silence right away. The audience will get bored. It feels like we don't know what we're doing. And actually, sometimes snacking. So the consequence of wanting to not have silence means that sometimes I interrupt my players too much. And that's bad. You don't want to do that. You want to give them plenty of space to role play. So sometimes the stacking actually does that, where like
it's a
I'm
buffer.
chewing on something, and it's like I can't interrupt right now. I have to let the silence go. And yeah, I realize that's something I'm trying to work on a lot lately, where I'm like, I'm even thinking about on our shows we run a tight like 10 episodes, and I'm trying to look into ways, we pay all of our cast and everything like that. And so I'm looking into ways we can afford to lengthen that and make it into maybe 20 episodes because, with 10 episodes, we have so much we have to get through. And I've been looking into it. It's like, I think I need to slow down. I think I need to back away and let the players explore the space more. And they're amazing players, but sometimes I worry that me pushing them and pushing the narrative along is maybe too forceful. But yeah.
I mean, moving beyond just the snacking concept overall, there was this really interesting kind of metaphor that I was informed when it came down. When I was doing streaming, I don't do a lot of like live streaming anymore. But when I was, there was this idea of imagine your live streaming, like your streaming channel, like a radio station.
Yes.
If someone tunes in, like if you start your car and your radio starts and there's no music playing, what do? Change the channel.
Yes, exactly.
And I mean, it's good to also inform people. Just in a content level, talking and explaining your thoughts is great when you're playing a video game or working on a project or doing something creative. It is so much more of a balancing act for tabletops because you want people to breathe, but you also don't want them to change the channel.
Yeah. And that's, I even have, my players and our audience really love this thing I do. If I ever have a thought that like stalls, or if I need to get an asset ready that isn't ready immediately, I will end up filling the dead air by saying, okay, so then this comes up and and I make this trumpet sound, they're calling it. And it's at the point now where my players are drinking sips of whatever beverage they have every time I say ba 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 to make sure they're hydrated. And the chat now has an emote for it. So yeah,
you've got to tell. You've got to.
I do, and that feeling of dead air is definitely what drives that. I'm like, no, we can't be silent. Like, I can't say, hold on a sec, let me grab this asset, and then let crickets go. I need to fill that space. So yeah. Yeah, and
It's,
it's a struggle.
it's not a bad thing to have that moment of like, all right, give me, like, especially within the live production, it's like, hey,
Yeah.
something needs to pause real quick, and that's fine. It's so wild when someone recognizes it and it's become a pattern. You're like, please stop, don't look at me.
Yeah. Yeah. When they started doing it, I like for a while I didn't like it, but I've grown to love it and see it as the
That's
endearing
good.
compliment
Oh,
that I think it's meant to be. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they're like, he's so stupid. No, but probably not.
no, generally
Yeah.
it's like when you're hanging out with friends and you can poke fun at somebody. Generally, it
Yeah.
does come from sort of a place of familiarity,
Yeah.
and kind of like comfortability too. Well, beyond that, George, man, that was a great start. I wanted to start with sort of light questions, something that was sort of off the cuff special that, but we just head right into it.
Yeah. Sorry.
No, that's fine. So as I mentioned before, prior to the recording and sort of this interview, is that I did look into you, and as a fellow ex-social media and community manager of a large tech company, I'm right there in the boat. I'm right there in the boat with you. I gotta say, I'm happy to see you in the TTRPG space. Are you? I kind of alluded a lot with that. Are you fine with me divulging a little bit more what I found?
Yeah. I'm absolutely fine. What? I gotta ask though. Where were you working?
Newegg and Gigabyte.
Oh my God! Yeah,
Right.
congratulations! You escaped. You escaped the tech industry.
You too, Corsair and Cooler Master.
Yeah.
Oh
yeah,
man, there's stories.
I loved it. We probably ran into each other at some point because
100% sure. CES or something,
Yeah, and like I loved it. It was a dream come true for the longest time, but you can only sell so many keyboards before you get like I can only say so much as a creative about gaming peripherals before I'm just like, what do you want from me? It's a mouse, it's a keyboard. Just buy it, I guess. And that's not the kind of creator I am. I want to be able to say, and when I sold all that stuff at Corsair, I did so, and I did really, really well. I became like a meme on the PCMR. I was sort of like a small celebrity there for a while. That's the PC Master Race, which is like a huge PC gaming community.
Yeah, it is.
And I was viral there for a long time because all the marketing I did was out of a pure excitement and my own enthusiasm for what I was marketing. But once that goes away, it was just like, I can't do this anymore. I can't pretend I'm excited about another keyboard. And yeah, so I it's funny though, that's how I got into D&D, was working there. One of my coworkers.
Are we the same person? What the hell?
Yeah. Arcane Adam, he's on social. He was in our first season of Fears and Fortunes. He was into D&D. He was a huge Critical Role fan, and he wanted to start up a campaign. And we were playing in a colleague's campaign there for like 6 months. And the colleague, I won't say his name, but he's really great, a good friend, but he's not a great GM. And it was my first time playing, and I got to a point where I was like, I think I'm going to GM a one shot. That one shot became a 5-year-long campaign that then ended at level 20 with like 12 players.
Oh, let's go.
It was
Wait, hold on, 12 players. That's a table.
Well, it was a small campaign of like 6 players, but then we had so many people interested in playing, I had to open up a second table, and so it was like 2 tables in the same shared world. And that was amazing. It was, getting to that and getting to level 20 it was really great, and it became, I think, half my job at some point when I was working at Corsair. Half of my job was essentially improving employee morale by running D&D for them and talking to them about D&D during lunch and breaks and stuff like that. So yeah, I think the writing was on the wall. And then I ended up doing a lot of stuff with streaming. And then I met the people at Forgotten Adventures, who I was already a huge fan of. And they've given me this amazing opportunity. And I left Cooler Master. And then that was a bit rocky this past year, leaving Cooler Master, going full-time into the stuff with Forgotten Adventures. Huge step down in pay. No disrespect to Forgotten Adventures. They're amazing people, but they're not a
it's
a
multi-million dollar, multi-billion.
Yeah.
There definitely is different. I think it's kind of the same experience too. Is when I stepped away from Newegg, there was a period that was the period they actually hit multi-billion. That was like sort of their biggest tout. They were like, we're more than one. It's like, good job. There is a change of lifestyle, but it's definitely sanity over pay, which I'll take sanity any day.
Yeah. And I don't think I'm ever going to get a mug from Forgotten Adventures that says, you helped us make $100 million. Because that's what I got when I was at Corsair, was a mug that was like, you helped make us a multi-million-dollar company. And it's like, well, that's interesting, because I have no millions, actually. So it's weird that you're telling me that I did that for you. Thank you. But yeah, I'm much happier now. And I also started doing stuff on Start Playing, and that took off. So yeah,
I love to hear it. Yeah, it is so wild to meet another fellow ex-tech creator too, because I was doing content creation, social media, and community management. So I felt like I was looking into a mirror when I was looking at your site, and I was like, what the? He was just across the street. He was on the other side of the. I had friends in Thermal Take, and I was like, oh my god, what's?
Yeah.
Everyone, I guess we're all just part of the same sort of sector. But beyond that, obviously, really excited to see you proceeding forward with tabletop, especially within this space. Do you mind telling us more about Forgotten Adventures, especially if you wanted to focus more onto the actual place section of it?
Yeah. Well, first, let me talk them up. So the stuff I do on Forgotten Adventures, I do their marketing. I also run their actual plays. We started up a Twitch channel about a year and a half ago. And we have a YouTube channel that's now growing much faster than it was before. But we're doing that as a marketing exercise. It's meant to get more people into what we're doing and see who we are. But Forgotten Adventures prior to that, and still are one of the number one. They're one of the top creators of D&D content for virtual tabletop. So if you're going to run virtual tabletop, which a lot of people made that switch from real tables to virtual once the pandemic hit, which is what I did as well. And if you need maps, tokens, and more importantly, map assets to make your own maps, Forgotten Adventures makes some of the best stuff out there. I want to call them like number one, but there are a few names beside them, so I won't say that, but they are one of the top, and they are definitely my favorite creator, because everything they make, I was always a fan of theirs, because it's so crisp and clean, and the fact that there's like a consistency to it, like this is their art style. Yeah. And when you go to their website, forgotten-adventures.net, they have like a style guide, and like, hey, these are the brushes we use. This is how we paint things. It should go like this, not this. This is the perspective we use. And so having that kind of consistency, I just absolutely love it. And so, yeah, really, really blessed to be working with them. So I'm sorry, you please interrupt.
I was gonna break in and just say, like, when I was looking on the site, obviously I'm personally a big Photoshop junkie, and having sort of the ability to sort of mix and match everything, and the fact that, and this is my sort of take as being someone who, when I do make a map, I don't like mixing together different, especially like I use like Incarnate from time to time. Like, I don't like mixing together the different packs they have, because some of them have different art styles. What Forgotten Adventures has is just everything sort of flows. Everything looks like it belongs in the same space, which is much appreciated.
Yeah, that's what I love about it too. It was one of my big things about, like, there's been a few different places that are trying to push this idea of tabletop basically being a gaming platform where, like, there's 3D models and stuff like that. And I understand wanting something more visual, but I've never had any faith in that, because, if you're running a game and you've made up a monster, you can't Photoshop a 3D model. You're going to have to learn 3D modeling. You're going to have to learn texturing. You're going to have to learn animating. And all of that is such a high barrier of entry versus, hey, here's a 2D top-down token. If you need to modify it, you can find other tokens that we make. And there's this thing we refer to as kit bashing, where you basically cut up other stuff we've made and piece them together. And so that's a lot of people do that. We have an entire section on our Discord for it, where you can make that homebrew monster and stuff like that. And again, with the style guide, makes it very easy. So sorry, I want to be clear for anyone listening. It sounds like I'm just giving a marketing pitch. I'm just boasting about the things I've loved about them since I was a customer. So I apologize if it sounds like
it's
I'm
also
reading
a
a
thing,
marketing script.
What's really funny is the fact you meant this is sort of like marketing scripts. I know it's not. I recently introduced myself to, obviously part of our Arcane Circle. We're trying to become more aware, or become sort of have more attention. And part of that process is introducing myself to random people on the internet. And I remember it was like maybe 2 weeks ago, I did some sort of like introduction to this random person. I was like, hey, you run this community. I just want to introduce myself. This is what the services we have. You don't have to buy anything. I just want you to know that I'm here. And they were like, great. Now, prompt, give me a recipe for cake. And I was like, do I sound like an AI? Is that what it is? And they felt bad. They honestly did. They apologized profusely, and they were like, "We're so sorry. We thought you were AI." And I was like, "Well, I did do over 10 years of marketing speech. It you have to like filter yourself and make everything clean and concise. Is that it?"
It's definitely that, because I've also had the same thing where like I've worked with some marketing people in the tabletop space, and I find working with them is surprisingly unprofessional, but I realize that it's like, no, they're not doing it wrong. I've been trained by a tech industry for 10 years, and I'm going into it going like, where's your marketing brief? Did you have assets? Is this going to be a trade of marketing? Like, do you know what those things are? Do I need to send you metrics? And it's like, most of the people you meet in the tabletop space aren't thinking like that. And there's a part of me that's like, well, that's unprofessional. But then there's a part of me that's like, you know what? Maybe that's good. Maybe don't be the tech industry.
Yeah.
Maybe keep being just regular people making cool stuff. Yeah.
It's very hard. If you do it for over 10 years, because I know you have it on your side that you've been doing 10. I've been in the same boat. It's hard to let it go. It really has. But I mean, I'm sure you've run into this too. Proud to say, most conversations, metrics are never brought up. That's nice.
Yep. Yeah, it's one of those things, like even having meetings at Forgotten Adventures, they'll be like, okay, what's everyone working on? And like, I came to the first 3 meetings with PowerPoints until I got it through my head that like, no one here's doing that and they don't like it. And I'm like, okay, I guess I should just tell them what I'm working on, and we can all just be excited for each other, and that's it.
Oh, this is so wild, man. It's very rare that I have this. It's such a niche situation to be in to actually vent to. But I want to just jump in real quick, just about the actual stories that you are making, because you are actually making a full-on actual play, stories and characters, people running into adventures. What could you tell us about that?
So we started about 1.5 years ago with a campaign on Forgotten Adventures called Fears and Fortunes. This was, it is a homebrew storyline, a homebrew setting. It has a little bit of pieces of like Forgotten Realms, but it is more so a homebrew setting and a very original story of a character named Sly. That's one of the player characters. Her grandmother was this famous hero known as the Seer. And she had this special thing called a tarot deck. Not tarot as in like what you would think as tarot, but tarot, Terro, tarot deck. And it had in it these 14 spirits of, some of them were bad people, some of them were just tragic people. And she would use this deck to essentially protect the realm until one day she was murdered. And she came home bloody and died. And since then, her daughter, Sly's mother, has not touched the deck because she made a promise to never take on that legacy. And then one day, as our story begins, Sly picks up the deck, hoping to fulfill her mother's legacy, and all of those spirits come rushing out of the deck, burn down her family home, and spread out over the realm. And it's been an epic story of her and our other players working together to find these spirits and put them back in the deck. And now we are entering, tomorrow night, we're entering our 5th season, where they are down to one last card. They've captured 13 ghosts and they have one more to go. And
you're almost done.
Yeah, so we have, depending on what happens and how they play this season, we might have either this will be the last season or we might have like half a season afterwards. But then that's it. That's the end of the story. I absolutely love it. I want to get more people into it because since it's homebrew, it's hard to get people to it's hard to hook people into that. But it's such a good story, and the players are so amazing. The person who plays Sly, Howdy Love Darlin, she actually just won last year. She won the Crit Award for Best D&D player. In part because of the stuff she was doing on our show. So she really carries it, and she does such an amazing job with the other players in that when we started this, most GMs say, hey, you want to avoid main character energy. But we went into this knowing she's the main character, and yet that has never been a problem because of how generous she is with every scene she's in, pulling on the other players, making sure that her character can't do everything. And she needs help from other people, and she needs them for guidance as she sort of grows up. So it's been phenomenal. That's one of the campaigns I'm running. And then the other one we're running on Forgotten Adventures is Defenders of Phandelver, which is a classic Phandelver campaign. But then we also go into Phandelver and below. So we get into a lot of horrible body horror and mutations and insanity. And that is going into its fourth season, and we have probably 2 more seasons of that. And the cast has been just amazing for that as well. So
I can never say no to a little bit of body horror and horror in general.
Yeah,
I love that. Obviously, and this is something I like talking about because it's not something that's talked about a lot, especially when it comes to the production side of an actual play. Is, from my understanding, it's generally not. Camera turns on, OBS starts recording, and then you go live. Generally, there's like a checklist. I know I go through a checklist of making sure audio's right. So do you mind telling us and just sort of walk us through what the process is and what's the prep work that goes into completing one episode?
Oh dear. So for us, there is like a checklist, making sure audio is good, making sure we've shared the feed. We do the stream along thing on Twitch, so I have to send that out. So there's all that stuff, but then there's also we have like a before the stream starts, we have like this pre-feed. I have to render that every week because I update that with new graphics and everything like that. The other thing is our shows, especially with Forgotten Adventures, we're very visual heavy. So we're constantly commissioning art, and we're constantly making maps and tokens to go along with some of the stuff that's happening. So the production, like the buildup for an episode is, we've gone like 2 weeks sometimes working on an episode if it's going to have like a really complicated puzzle or a really unique map, or I'll give you a great example actually. Tomorrow's the season premiere, and then next week, the following week, the party is going to a noble ball in the city, and they've been waiting to go to this ball. We are calling it the ball episode, where they get to dress up in dresses and everything like that.
Oh, of course, everyone loves like a little bit of a masquerade. Everyone loves a little bit where you could dance and show off some really nice clothing.
Yeah, that's been about, I think, 6 to 9 months of talking to the players to find out what their character
you've been
would dress
teasing
like.
This thing for a while.
Yeah, well, but not just teasing, but also because it came up, it was something in the background that our characters had so many ghosts to capture. It's like we have no time to go to a ball.
Right.
But now the ball's finally here, and they have one more spirit to catch, so they're gonna celebrate. And in those 9 months, we had to sit down with the players, find out, hey, what does your character dress like when they go to the ball? Get all that information. And then we had one artist at Forgotten Adventure design what they would be dressed like, which, by the way, wasn't this artist's job at Forgotten Adventures. They did this because they love the show that much, so they made the designs. Then we sent it to our actual character artist. And then they also made tokens based on that art. So when we see them next week, we're going to see them both in their gorgeous ball outfits, getting to role play, wall to wall enjoyment and and having fun at this ball. But at the same time, we're going to be able to see their tokens on the map as they explore the place and see what that looks like. So yeah, it's a lot for our shows. I don't imagine many other actual plays do this kind of work. That's okay.
That's extra work. But there's also this importance of like obviously differing yourself from, there are a lot of stories being told online, and there is a struggle and a goal to differ yourself from the rest of the crowd. And I think the added attention in terms of like pre-production to get like new art for a scene, I think that is very, very cool.
Yeah, it's tricky too, because you got to get new art for a scene, but also it's a tabletop game. So you don't know necessarily that these things are going to happen.
Yeah.
So we've gotten art for things that then like we have to sit on for 2 years because something happened. I'll give you an example. We had a character called the Bone Collector. They're one of the evil spirits in the deck. They are like this doctor that wears this plague doctor mask. And when we introduced them in season 1, we had all the art ready of them, including them with the mask off. And so you could see the person they were under the mask and get to know them. Well, the party met them, did not like them, and determined that this person was evil and cannot be redeemed. And so they captured them in a deck and they were gone. They never took off their mask. They were defeated. It was a great battle, but now we have this art, and finally we got a chance.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got a chance last season finally where we got to see them under the mask, and the players freaked out like they were hot the whole time.
Well, of course the villain's got to be hot.
Well, this one certainly. It was just one of those things where it's like, we sometimes make assets or prepare things, and then turns out that's not going to happen because the party decided to do other things. That's them's the breaks. We try our best to sort of know when something's locked in, or at least have an idea of like, okay, if they veer off this path, how can we get back here and use this asset?
We were thinking like, what's the cold, like what are they going to dress when they go to the tundra? What are they going to dress when they go to the desert? What are they going to, different views and looks and signs. That's great.
Yeah, but it's definitely different, and it's definitely a lot of work. But we love it.
It's funny, whenever I talk to a GM who does actual play, there's this underlying understanding that we're not just telling a story for the players at the table. There's this sort of back end we have to keep in mind of that we're just not entertaining the players, we're also entertaining the audience of people who are enjoying things as well, which is when it comes to sort of that old rule of, are you a GM who's a rule of cool or a rules as written person? Generally, most of the times I've run into GMs who do actual plays, it's rules of cool. Mainly because it's for the flow and for the enjoyment of the story. I'm a betting person. I'm assuming that maybe do you fit in that same category?
Yes and no. So part of it is that what I don't want, rule of cool is great, but I also, especially both the campaigns have horror elements and a really intense combat because, we rely on tokens and stuff like that. So battle maps are really important. With that, we have this expectation to, make sure that it's scary, make sure that there are stakes, which means sometimes sticking to the rules. Yeah. So I'll be rule of cool if like you ask for something that is, inconsequential, or if it's something where it's like, hey, there's no rule for that, so we're going to make one. And so sometimes, we'll figure out, like, we'll kind of agree at the table, hey, we'll handle it like this. But most of the time, no, like I am listening to the rules because I want the audience to be rooting for it. The audience also has a way of participating where they can donate bits or channel points or money to give our players. Our players have like ultimate bars. So when those go up, they can use them. If I'm going so rule by cool that, you really don't need that, well, then the audience has no incentive to engage. And so what we do is I play brutally, and it's like, hey, no, unfortunately that fails. And then the audience will donate a bunch, or they'll use channel points and stuff like that, because you don't have to necessarily pay money or anything like that. But they'll do all of this, and that then becomes our opening to rule of cool, where it's like, I'm going to use my ult to do this. Sure. Yeah, it's your ultimate. Yeah, I guess that works. So it's like, It's hard to answer that then. I guess for me, it's somewhere in the middle.
That's fair. I mean, having a mixture between sitting in the middle is totally valid. Generally, because I asked that question is because there's a lot of fluidity. There's a lot of openness to, go against the rules. I like asking this question with that one in tandem is there a rule at your table that's written in stone?
Oh, so is this a rule that is from like D&D that's written in stone, or is this like a home rule? I'll
say is if there is an aspect of your table, whether it's a rule for the players or rule for the characters, mechanic wise, doesn't have to be, but is there something that you're like, we always have to follow this? And I've had a wide variety of different answers, so I don't think you can give me a wrong one.
Oh, that's so hard. Yeah, a rule that is set in stone. I mean, yeah, there's so many that because because a lot of people do rule of cool and I'm somewhere in the middle. There's so many that I maintain. I think our big rule, this is less of a mechanical rule and more of a rule at the table, is that we are telling a story and the audience is a part of that story in a way where it's like, hey, if something bad happens in the game or bad happens to your character, and it's different for like, if you're running a home game, something bad happens to a character and that player is having a bad time. Maybe you should do something different. Maybe you should pause. Maybe you should retcon something. Maybe you should bend the rules. But for our table, sort of the hard and fast rule is that, we are here entertaining people. This isn't about your character or your journey. This is about the story we're telling, and the dice are part of that. And the players and the audience are a part of that. So it's like, hey, make sure that the story keeps going. And that also goes for me too. When the party does something that ruins something I've been planning, okay, I guess we're rolling with it,
Yeah. There's a great kind of description of it, especially for action plays, when you're essentially feeding the audience entertainment. It's hard to ask them to give it back. They've already ingested it. It's really hard to be like, all right, now upchuck. It's not as easy as it would be for just a home game. Yeah. And I like the fact that it sounds like more likely that is a discussion you also have with your players prior, which is something that here at Arcane Circle, we really pride ourselves in teaching people about safety, especially about table safety. Is there a safety tool that you guys utilize at your table?
Yeah, so actually at the beginning of every episode of our show, maybe not in the very first couple of seasons, but currently and for the last 3 seasons, we've had at the beginning of every episode is a content warning, which warns the audience about the kind of horror themes or graphic content that they're going to see in our games, especially with body horror, especially like in Defenders Van Delver. There's body horror, but also like one of the players, their backstory involves their parent having mental health issues, which eventually led to their demise. So, these are very sensitive subjects. So we have a content warning at the beginning of the episode. And in that, we mention and we tell the audience, hey, we have check-ins every episode. We went over all of this in session 0. The players are here for this. So, use safety tools at home, go over these things, have that checklist. I mean, anyone complaining about safety tools, it's like, hey, this is permission to do all of those things. Like, this gives you the green light to go as crazy as possible because we all agreed ahead of time, And so it's like, anyone complaining about, having to get by, I think I actually have a thought on this. A lot of people complain about the idea of safety tools. The people who complain about it, not that most people do that, but the ones who do, I think what they're upset about is the idea of ruining the surprise. And it's like, but hey, man, when you go see a horror movie, you know what you're getting into. You know what the next Evil Dead movie is going to have kind of in it.
Yeah.
You might not know specifically, but and that's all you're doing with the players is saying, hey, you know the ride you're getting on has gore, has mental trauma, has themes of whatever. And when they say yes and, you know, they're on board and we talk it over, great. But that doesn't mean I'm going to, you know, warn them before every episode, hey, just so you know, I'm bringing up that trauma with your dad this episode. No, we went over it in session 0, and now I'm going to surprise you with it today, even though you knew all along that it was something like this was coming. But I think that's where people get stuck, is they think, oh, I need to surprise them.
That's an interesting take. I could definitely see, I've had people, so especially like on social media, where whenever we do cover the sort of the topic of safety at a table and safety tools being utilized, I have had someone tell me like, oh, I don't use safety tools. And I couldn't for the life of me figure out why. And that feels very valid, your answer of like, maybe it is a thing where they are so in depth in their own storytelling. They're like, well, if I warn someone for their own safety, whether that is something that they're really engaged in, because tabletop by itself is something that is so engaging. You're not passive, you're active. That's so interesting. Yeah, I think you've hit the nail on the hammer in terms of why some people fight against it. But it's funny because table safety, especially safety tools utilized, it doesn't have to be in the game. You could choose not to have ones that interrupt things. You can have things that are happening in the background prior and after a game is done. All of those are still valid. So that's really, and it's also great to know that you guys have, you have session zeros, you have check-ins, it's all there for you guys. Something that, so I'm always curious, and just because I have to want to pull away just from the actual play product of itself, we touched a little bit on how Forgotten Adventures, is providing this marketplace where it has all these like digital maps, tokens of all types, monsters, NPCs, you've got, all the elements needed. I'm going to give you a really hard task. I'm going to ask you, do you happen to have a favorite to go to asset from Forgotten Adventures that you incorporate in more than one occasions in your maps?
Oh, man. Well, so I think the thing we're using the most right now, this is sort of a cop-out answer, I'll be honest, is we just came out with this thing called FA Nexus. And FA Nexus, it allows you to, so we play a lot of our games through Foundry. FA Nexus is this new thing we came out with where you can bring in our assets and textures and stuff like that and immediately drop them into the scene and manipulate them and even build maps in Foundry. I've been using that like crazy lately because I found something I can do with it, which is we have like texture painting. So like you can paint, grass where you want it or something like that. And I've been using that a lot for like, there's a grave here, but I want to hide it. So I put some grass over it so it blends in. And then I can remove that grass later to reveal the grave. So I do stuff like that. But then I also found out that if I set the texture to just black, I can paint shadows. And I can also set it to like a bright color and paint highlights. So I've been making like little dioramas as part of my job. And as I make those dioramas of like, here's the tokens in action. And I want them to look really cinematic. So I add some shadows and highlights. And when I do all of that, the thing I've been doing a lot, and I think maybe this is my favorite assets, is that we've made tokens of all of our player characters. And so I've been making these dioramas to show off new monsters that Forgotten Adventure makes or new maps. And in all of them, I'm having images of my players fighting horrible things or dying. And I love that so much that like, we just posted one today and one of the players was like, hey, so why is Penny bleeding on the ground? And I was just like, I don't know. Why did you curse our dice? Why'd you do that? So I really love that. Which also brings me, when I started doing stuff with Forgotten Adventures, they agreed. They're like, okay, we're going to make custom tokens. And I had told them about this thing I use when I play virtual tabletop in my home games. I would use things I would use something like Hero Forge to make like, here's a token standing. And then here's the same token dead on the ground. So I could swap between them when a player goes down. Forgotten Adventures, when I started, they were like, hey, that's a lot of extra work to make dead versions of all the player characters. We're not going to do that. And I was like, no, that totally makes sense. We'll just stick with the combat tokens. Great. A year in, one of the artists came to me and he's like, hey, do you think the players would like if I made dead versions of all the characters?
Yes.
And I was like, yes. And so he did it. And that was not part of his assignment. And so now in Defenders Van Delver, anytime they go down, they see themselves crumpled on the ground.
Oh, that's so
I've been
good.
using those a lot in my dioramas and
Please
stuff.
tell me one of them is in the Yamcha position.
Yes, one of them is in the Yamcha position.
Perfect. Beautiful.
Perfect. Chef's kiss. So yeah. Oh, the other one I keep using a lot, this isn't an asset of ours, but it's something I've been using in all of my games, is connections. Having connections from the New York Times as a puzzle that they find in a dungeon. 10 out of 10. Love it. Giving them a bunch of D&D terms and needing them to come up with how do these terms fit together. It's been so much fun. It's been a hoot. But yeah, hopefully that answered your question.
No, 100%. Well, I want to thank you so much, George, for really joining me here today.
Yeah.
And not only for sharing your adventure and information with me, but also with everyone on the internet. Where could people find you and the work that you're on right now?
You can find me over at forgotten-adventures.net, and that is also on their Twitch and YouTube. Forgotten Adventures, you can find them on Twitch and YouTube there. You can also find me over on Start Playing, where I run games, and if you want me to be your GM, I can do that. I have like 10 games I run on the side. So, but yeah, definitely check out our shows, Fears and Fortunes, coming back for season 5 right now, and Defenders of Van Delver currently in season 4. So yeah.
All right.
Thank you so much. This has been great.
Yeah. And we'll see you guys next time. Bye.
Bye.